What if the peace you've been searching for isn't out there in the chaos of the world, but already resting quietly within you? As the great Buddha once taught, serenity comes from within. Do not seek it without. In a world that tugs us relentlessly, through the demands of our jobs, the complexities of our relationships, and the unyielding pressures of modern life, finding that inner stillness can feel like chasing a mirage. We often look for peace in external fixes, believing that a new job, a better home, or a perfect relationship will finally bring us calm. But what if the true source of tranquility has been inside you all along, waiting to be uncovered? Here at Daily Buddhist, we're committed to guiding you on a transformative journey toward lasting peace. In today's video, we'll explore profound Buddhist teachings and practices that will help you cultivate serenity from within, no matter how turbulent the world around you becomes. Before we begin, take a moment to pause and reflect. When was the last time you felt truly at peace? Close your eyes for a second, breathe deeply, and let that memory surface. Hold on to that feeling as we dive into this journey together. A journey to rediscover the calm that's always been yours. The first step to finding serenity is understanding the nature of your mind. In Buddhist teachings, the mind is often likened to a playful monkey, leaping from branch to branch in an endless dance of distraction. This monkey mind is restless, always swinging between thoughts, worries, and desires, leaving us feeling scattered and overwhelmed. I remember a time when I was sitting by the serene Lake Miran in my hometown, trying to enjoy a quiet moment, but my mind wouldn't settle. It raced from a work deadline to a conversation I'd had earlier, refusing to let me rest. That's when I realized the mind's constant motion isn't something to fight, it's something to understand. Buddhism teaches us that this restlessness is natural. Instead of battling it, we can learn to observe our thoughts without reacting. Through mindfulness meditation, you can train yourself to watch your thoughts as if they're leaves floating down a gentle stream. For example, when a worry about tomorrow arises, don't dive into it. Simply notice it, label it as thinking, and let it drift away. Over time, this practice creates a spaciousness in your mind, a clarity that allows peace to emerge naturally. You'll stop blaming yourself for a wandering mind and start appreciating the process of gently guiding it back to stillness. Understanding the nature of the mind is a foundational practice in Buddhism, and it begins with embracing the concept of impermanence, one of the core teachings of the Buddha. Everything in life, including our thoughts, is transient. They arise, they linger for a moment, and then they pass, much like waves on the shore of a vast ocean. This realization can be liberating, but it requires practice and patience to internalize. When I first began meditating, I was frustrated by my inability to stop my thoughts. I'd sit on my cushion, eyes closed, trying to force my mind into silence, only to find it chattering louder than ever. It was as if I was trying to hold water in my hands. The harder I gripped, the more it slipped away. That's when a wise teacher introduced me to the idea of the monkey mind. She explained that the mind's nature is to move, to explore, to swing from one idea to the next. My job wasn't to cage the monkey, but to sit with it, watch it, and learn its patterns. This shift in perspective was transformative. I began to approach meditation with curiosity rather than frustration. I'd sit by Lake Miran, the water shimmering under the morning sun, and simply observe my thoughts as they arose. One moment I'd be worrying about an upcoming presentation at work. The next I'd be replaying a compliment I'd received. Instead of engaging with these thoughts, I'd label them, planning, remembering, and let them float by like clouds across a clear sky. Over weeks of practice, I noticed a profound change. The thoughts didn't disappear, but their grip on me weakened. I no longer felt defined by them. This is the essence of mindfulness, creating a space between you and your thoughts, a space where peace can blossom. For those new to this practice, start small. Set aside 5 minutes each day to sit quietly. Find a comfortable spot, maybe a cozy chair in your living room or a bench in a nearby park. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and simply notice what arises in your mind. You might feel restless at first, and that's okay. The goal isn't to stop thinking, but to observe without attachment. If a thought about a looming deadline pops up, don't spiral into stress. Acknowledge it, thinking about work, and return to your breath. Over time, this practice rewires your relationship with your mind. You'll begin to see thoughts as temporary visitors, not permanent residents, and this detachment brings a profound sense of freedom. Mindfulness isn't just for meditation. It's a way of living. I started applying it during my daily commute through the busy streets of Eldon. Instead of getting frustrated by the honking cars and crowded buses, I'd focus on my breath, noticing the rise and fall of my chest. I'd observe the impatience in my mind without letting it take over. This simple act turned a stressful experience into a moment of calm. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a wild horse, untamed but trainable. With patience and practice, you can guide it towards stillness, creating a foundation for lasting peace. The journey begins with understanding, and that understanding starts now in this very moment as you take your next mindful breath. Our energy is a precious resource, yet we often let it slip away through unseen drains. These can be external, like draining conversations with a perpetually negative friend, or internal, like the habit of overthinking past mistakes. I once had a colleague, Maya, who would vent endlessly about her frustrations. After every conversation, I felt exhausted, as if my vitality had been siphoned away. It wasn't until I learned to set boundaries that I reclaimed my energy. Protecting your energy is essential for inner peace, and it starts with awareness. Take a moment to identify what depletes you. Are there people like Maya who leave you feeling drained? Are there habits like scrolling endlessly on social media that sap your focus? Buddhism emphasizes creating boundaries to safeguard your energy. This might mean saying no to draining interactions, carving out time for self-care, or creating a sanctuary in your home, a space free from distractions. For instance, I turned a small corner of my apartment into a haven with a soft cushion and a lavender candle, a place where I could recharge. Spend time with those who uplift you, engage in practices like yoga or a quiet walk in nature, and watch how your energy becomes a foundation for peace. Protecting your energy is not just a practical step, it's a sacred act of self-compassion, deeply rooted in the Buddhist principle of non-attachment. We often attach ourselves to people, situations, or habits out of habit or obligation, even when they harm our well-being. But the Buddha taught that clinging to what doesn't serve us creates suffering. Letting go of these energy drains is an act of liberation, a way to honor the precious life force that flows through us. When I first met Maya, I admired her wit and passion, but over time I noticed a pattern. Every conversation left me feeling heavy, as if I'd absorbed her frustrations. I'd leave our lunches together unable to focus, my mind clouded with the negativity she'd shared. It wasn't until I attended a mindfulness retreat in the hills of Willow Creek that I learned the importance of energetic boundaries. The retreat teacher, a gentle monk named Kale, shared a metaphor that stayed with me. He said, "Your energy is like a clear stream. If you let mud flow into it unchecked, the water becomes murky. But if you build a gentle dam, the stream stays pure." That dam, he explained, is the boundary we set to protect our peace. For me, this meant reevaluating my time with Maya. I didn't cut her out of my life entirely. That wouldn't have been compassionate, but I limited our interactions. I politely excused myself after 20 minutes, saying, "I need some quiet time to recharge." At first I felt guilty, but I soon noticed a shift. My energy levels soared, and I had more clarity to focus on what truly mattered. Identifying energy drains requires honest reflection. Sit with a journal and ask yourself, what leaves me feeling depleted? It might be a person, like a friend who constantly complains, or an environment, like a cluttered workspace that overwhelms you. For me, social media was another culprit. I'd spend hours scrolling through endless posts, comparing myself to others and feeling drained by the noise. Inspired by Buddhist simplicity, I set a boundary: 15 minutes of social media a day, and only after my morning meditation. This small change was transformative. I replaced mindless scrolling with mindful practices, reading a book, practicing yoga, or simply sitting in silence with a cup of tea. My mind felt lighter, my energy more vibrant. Creating a physical sanctuary can also help. After the retreat, I transformed a corner of my apartment into a sacred space. I placed a soft cushion on the floor, added a small table with a lavender candle, and hung a painting of a lotus flower, a symbol of purity in Buddhism. This became my refuge, a place where I could meditate, journal, or simply breathe. I'd light the candle, close my eyes, and feel my energy recharge, as if I were soaking in the stillness of a forest glade. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential. By setting boundaries and nourishing your spirit, You create a wellspring of peace that sustains you through life's challenges. Start today. Identify one energy drain, set a boundary, and watch how your inner calm grows. Our thoughts shape our reality, often trapping us in cycles of stress and negativity. These patterns become wired into our brains, creating a mental autopilot that reacts to challenges with anxiety or self-doubt. But the beauty of Buddhist wisdom is that we can rewire these patterns with intention. A few years ago, I found myself spiraling every time I faced a setback, imagining worst-case scenarios until I was paralyzed with fear. It wasn't until I started practicing mindfulness that I broke free. The first step is awareness. Notice how you respond to stress. Do you criticize yourself harshly, or do you worry endlessly? Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from clinging to our thoughts. By observing them without attachment, we weaken their hold. A powerful technique is noting. When a stressful thought arises, mentally label it as worrying or thinking. This simple act creates distance, stopping the spiral before it begins. With practice, you'll find your mind shifting from chaos to clarity, paving the way for a calmer, more centered you. Rewiring your brain is a profound journey of transformation, one that aligns with the Buddhist teaching of non-attachment. We often cling to our thoughts as if they define us, believing that a worry or a fear is a reflection of reality. But the Buddha taught that thoughts are impermanent. They arise and pass like bubbles on a stream. The suffering comes not from the thoughts themselves, but from our attachment to them. When I first encountered this teaching, I was skeptical. My mind was a battlefield of negativity, especially after a failed project at work. I'd replay every mistake, convincing myself I was a failure, imagining I'd never recover. This mental loop left me anxious and exhausted, unable to sleep or focus. It was a mindfulness workshop in Eldon that introduced me to the power of noting, a technique that changed everything. Noting is deceptively simple. When a thought arises, you label it without engaging. For example, if I started worrying about my career, I'd silently say, "worrying," and return to my breath. At first, it felt mechanical, even silly, but over time I noticed a shift. Labeling the thought created a pause, a moment of detachment that stopped the spiral. I began to see my thoughts as clouds passing through the sky of my mind, temporary, not permanent. This practice is rooted in the Buddhist concept of anatta, or no self, which reminds us that we are not our thoughts. They are mere phenomena, not our essence. This realization was liberating. I no longer felt controlled by my fears. I could observe them with curiosity, even amusement. To deepen this practice, I started integrating mindfulness into my daily routine. Each morning, I'd sit by my window, watching the sunrise over the rooftops of my neighborhood. As thoughts arose about my to-do list, a looming deadline, or a past mistake, I'd note them, planning, remembering, judging. Then I'd return to the warmth of the sun on my face, the sound of birds chirping. This ritual became a sacred pause, a way to rewire my brain for peace. Over months, I noticed a profound change. My default response to stress softened. Instead of spiraling into fear, I'd pause, observe, and choose a calmer response. My relationships improved, my work became more focused, and I felt a deep sense of inner stability. You can start this practice anywhere, anytime. The next time you feel overwhelmed, maybe you're stuck in traffic or facing a difficult conversation, pause and notice your thoughts. Are you imagining the worst? Label it, imagining. Are you criticizing yourself? Label it, judging. Then take a deep breath and let the thought pass. This isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about creating space to respond rather than react. Buddhism teaches that the mind is malleable like clay. With intention, you can reshape it, carving out pathways of peace where there was once chaos. Begin today. Note one stressful thought, observe it without attachment, and feel the freedom that comes with letting go. Acceptance is a cornerstone of Buddhist practice, yet it's often misunderstood. We live in a culture that urges us to strive for more. More success, more control, more everything. But true peace comes from accepting life as it is, not as we wish it to be. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the struggle against what we cannot change. When my grandmother fell ill last year, I spent weeks resisting the reality, consumed by what-ifs. It was only when I accepted her condition that I found peace and the strength to support her with love. This principle applies to emotions too. Instead of suppressing sadness or anger, allow yourself to feel them fully. Acknowledge them without judgment, and they'll pass through you like a gentle breeze. By accepting what is, whether it's a difficult situation or a challenging emotion, you create space for healing and serenity to take root. The power of acceptance is a transformative teaching in Buddhism, deeply tied to the principle of impermanence. The Buddha taught that everything, our circumstances, our emotions, our very lives, is in constant flux. Resisting this natural flow creates suffering, while accepting it brings peace. When my grandmother fell ill, I was overwhelmed by resistance. I'd sit by her bedside in the hospital, my mind racing with thoughts of how things should be. I'd imagine her healthy again, cooking her famous apple pie in her kitchen, laughing with me over tea. But the reality was different. She was frail, her voice weak, her time uncertain. My refusal to accept this reality kept me trapped in a cycle of pain, unable to be fully present with her. It was a Buddhist meditation group in Willow Creek that helped me shift my perspective. The group leader, a kind woman named Saria, shared a teaching that struck me. Suffering arises when we fight against what is. Acceptance is not resignation. It's the courage to see reality clearly. She guided us through a meditation where we visualized a river, its current steady and unstoppable. You cannot stop the river, she said, but you can learn to flow with it. I pictured my grandmother's illness as that river, and I imagined myself letting go of my resistance, floating with the current instead of fighting it. In that moment, I felt a weight lift. Acceptance didn't mean I stopped caring. It meant I stopped suffering over what I couldn't control. I could now sit with my grandmother, hold her hand, and share quiet moments of love without the cloud of what-ifs. This practice of acceptance extends beyond external circumstances to our inner world. We often resist our emotions, especially the uncomfortable ones like sadness, anger, or fear. When I felt angry after a disagreement with a friend, I tried to push it away, telling myself I shouldn't feel this way. But Buddhism teaches that all emotions are part of the human experience. They arise, they pass, and they don't define us. Instead of suppressing my anger, I began to sit with it. I'd find a quiet spot in my garden, close my eyes, and breathe deeply. I'd name the emotion, anger, and let myself feel it fully, noticing the heat in my chest, the tension in my shoulders. I'd imagine it as a storm cloud, dark but temporary, passing through the sky of my mind. Within minutes, the intensity would soften, and I'd feel a spaciousness, a peace that came from simply allowing the emotion to be. You can practice acceptance in small moments throughout your day. The next time you're stuck in a situation you can't change, maybe a delayed flight or a rainy day that cancels your plans, pause and breathe. Acknowledge the reality. This is happening. Then ask yourself, how can I flow with this? Maybe you use the delay to read a book, or the rain becomes an invitation to cozy up with a cup of tea. By accepting what is, you free yourself from the struggle, creating space for peace to emerge. Acceptance is a gift you give yourself, a doorway to serenity that opens the moment you stop fighting against life's natural flow. Life is a whirlwind of unpredictability, whether it's a personal crisis, like a sudden job loss, or global events that shake our sense of stability. In these moments, finding peace can seem impossible, but Buddhism teaches us that true serenity isn't about escaping the storm. It's about finding stillness within it. I recall a day when I was stuck in traffic in the bustling city of Eldon, horns blaring around me. I felt my stress rising until I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and focused on the rhythm of my breathing. In that moment, the chaos faded, and I found a quiet refuge within. Meditation is a powerful tool for this. Sit quietly, focus on your breath, and let each inhale and exhale anchor you to the present. Even in a noisy environment, this practice can ground you. Another technique is mindful breathing. Inhale deeply through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and exhale slowly through your mouth. Feel your body soften, your mind quiet. Beyond these, mindfulness, being fully present in whatever you're doing, helps you stay centered. Whether you're washing dishes or walking in a park, focus entirely on the moment. This stillness becomes your shield, a sanctuary no storm can touch. Finding stillness in the storm is a profound teaching in Buddhism, reflecting the middle way, neither avoiding life's challenges nor being consumed by them. The Buddha often spoke of life as a sea of suffering, with waves of change crashing around us. But within that sea, there is an island of peace, a stillness we can cultivate no matter the circumstances. I learned this lesson vividly during a particularly chaotic period in my life. I just lost my job unexpectedly, and the uncertainty was overwhelming. Bills piled up, my savings dwindled, and I felt like I was drowning in a storm of fear. Driving through Eldon one day, stuck in a gridlock of honking cars, I felt the panic rising, until I remembered a teaching I'd heard at a mindfulness retreat. The storm may rage, but you can be the eye of the hurricane, calm at the center. I pulled over to the side of the road, closed my eyes, and began to breathe deeply. Inhaling through my nose, I counted to 4, held for 4, and exhaled through my mouth for 6. With each breath, I focused on the sensation of air moving through my body, the coolness in my nostrils, the gentle rise of my chest. The honking faded into the background, and I felt a stillness settle within me. It wasn't that the storm, my job loss, the traffic disappeared. It was that I'd found a way to anchor myself within it. This is the power of meditation. It doesn't change the external world, but it transforms your relationship with it, creating an unshakable inner calm. Mindful breathing became my lifeline during that period. I'd practice it not just in moments of crisis, but throughout the day, while waiting in line at the grocery store, during a tense phone call, or even as I walked my dog in the park. I'd slow my breath, feeling each inhale and exhale, and notice the world around me. The rustle of leaves, the scent of fresh grass, the warmth of the sun. This practice of mindfulness, being fully present in the moment, helped me stay grounded no matter what chaos swirled around me. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is the only moment we truly have. The past is gone, the future uncertain, but the now is ours to inhabit fully. By anchoring ourselves in the present, we find a stillness that no storm can disrupt. You can cultivate this stillness anywhere. Start by setting aside 5 minutes each day to meditate. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. If your mind wanders to worries about tomorrow or regrets about yesterday, gently bring it back. Over time, this practice becomes a refuge, a place you can return to even in the busiest moments. I began to see life storms not as threats but as opportunities to deepen my practice. The job loss that once terrified me became a catalyst for growth. I discovered new passions, pursued freelance work, and found a resilience I didn't know I had. Stillness in the storm isn't about escaping reality. It's about meeting it with a calm, clear heart, ready to face whatever comes with grace. Our surroundings deeply influence our state of mind. A cluttered space often mirrors a cluttered mind, making peace elusive. Buddhism values simplicity, teaching that a clear environment fosters a clear mind. I once visited a friend, Lila, in her small cottage near Willow Creek. Her home was minimal, soft beige walls, a single potted fern, and the gentle sound of a wind chime. Being there felt like stepping into a sanctuary, and I realized how much our spaces shape our serenity. Start by decluttering. Go through your home, keeping only what brings joy or serves a purpose. Choose calming colors like pale greens or earthy browns, and bring in natural elements. A small plant, a wooden shelf, or the sound of a tabletop fountain. Let natural light flood your space, or use soft lamps to create warmth. Reduce noise with soothing sounds like a recording of rainfall, and carve out a dedicated corner for reflection. A cozy chair with a journal nearby. When your environment radiates peace, your mind will follow. Creating a peaceful environment is a sacred act of intention, deeply rooted in the Buddhist principle of simplicity. The Buddha taught that attachment to material excess creates mental clutter, pulling us away from inner peace. A cluttered space, overflowing with unnecessary items, harsh colors, or chaotic energy, mirrors a cluttered mind, making it hard to find calm. When I visited Lila's cottage near Willow Creek, I was struck by its serenity. The moment I stepped inside, I felt a wave of peace wash over me. Her home was a testament to simplicity. A single fern sat on a wooden table, soft beige walls reflected the glow of natural light, and a wind chime sang gently in the breeze. There was no excess, no distraction, just a space that invited stillness. That visit inspired me to transform my own home into a sanctuary. Decluttering is the first step, and it's more than just tidying up. It's a practice of letting go. I started with my bedroom, going through every drawer and shelf. I held each item asking myself, does this bring me joy or serve a purpose? If the answer was no, I thanked it for its role in my life and let it go. A practice inspired by the Buddhist teaching of non-attachment. Old clothes, forgotten trinkets, and stacks of papers I'd been holding on to just in case were donated or recycled. As I cleared the physical clutter, I felt a mental clarity emerge. My room, once a source of stress with its piles of to-dos, became a place of calm. Each empty space felt like a breath of fresh air, a reminder that simplicity creates room for peace. The sensory elements of your environment matter too. Colors have a profound impact on our mood. Bright reds and yellows can stimulate the mind, while soft greens, blues, and earthy browns evoke tranquility. I repainted my living room in a pale sage green, a color that reminded me of the forests near Willow Creek. I added natural elements: a small potted plant on my desk, a wooden bookshelf, and a tabletop fountain that filled the room with the soothing sound of flowing water. Natural light became a priority. I opened my curtains each morning, letting the sun flood in, and replaced harsh fluorescent bulbs with soft, warm lamps. These changes transformed my home into a space that felt alive with peace, a place where my mind could rest. Sound plays a crucial role in creating calm. In our noisy world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by constant stimulation, traffic, notifications, chatter. I began playing recordings of rainfall or ocean waves in the evenings, their gentle rhythms lulling my mind into stillness. I also carved out a dedicated corner for reflection: a cozy chair by the window, a small table with a journal, and a candle that filled the air with the scent of sandalwood. This became my sacred space, a place where I could meditate, write, or simply sit in silence. Creating a peaceful environment isn't just about aesthetics, it's about intention. By designing a space that reflects the serenity you seek, you create a foundation for inner calm that supports you through life's ups and downs. Start small. Declutter one room, add a natural element, and feel the difference it makes. The past can weigh heavily on us, its unresolved pain casting shadows over the present. Whether it's regret over a lost opportunity or anger from a betrayal, these burdens keep us from peace. I once carried guilt over a falling out with my brother, Ethan, replaying our argument for years. It wasn't until I embraced Buddhist teachings on forgiveness that I found freedom. Healing begins with acceptance, facing your emotions with kindness, not avoidance. Sit with your feelings, whether it's grief or resentment, and observe them without judgment. Through meditation, visualize releasing these burdens. Imagine them as stones you set down by a quiet river, watching them sink away. Forgiveness is key. Forgive others, not for their sake, but to free yourself. And forgive yourself too for past mistakes. Journaling can help. Write about your pain, reflect on the lessons, and let go. As you release the past, you'll feel lighter, ready to embrace the present with an open heart. Healing from the past is a journey of liberation, deeply aligned with the Buddhist teaching of impermanence. The Buddha taught that everything changes: our experiences, our emotions, our pain. Holding on to the past, whether through regret, anger, or guilt, keeps us anchored in suffering, unable to live fully in the present. My falling out with Ethan was a wound I carried for years. We'd argued over a misunderstanding during a family gathering, and harsh words were exchanged. I stormed off and we didn't speak for months. Every time I thought of him, I'd replay the argument, blaming myself for not handling it better. The guilt was a heavy stone in my heart, dimming the light of my present moments. It was a mindfulness workshop in Eldon that introduced me to the healing power of acceptance and forgiveness. The workshop leader, a monk named Tarun, shared a teaching that resonated deeply. The past is a memory, not a prison. To heal, you must accept what was and let it go. He guided us through a meditation where we visualized a quiet river, its waters clear and calm. See your past pain as stones in your hands, he said. Feel their weight, then gently set them down in the river, watching them sink away. I pictured my guilt over Ethan as a jagged stone, heavy with regret. As I set it down in the river, I felt a release, a lightness I hadn't felt in years. Acceptance didn't mean I forgot the argument. It meant I stopped letting it control me. I could now see it as a moment in time, not my entire story. Forgiveness was the next step, and it's a cornerstone of Buddhist practice. I realized I needed to forgive Ethan, not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Holding on to resentment was like drinking poison and expecting him to suffer. I wrote him a letter, not to send, but to release. I poured out my anger, my hurt, and then I wrote, "I forgive you." The act of writing those words lifted a burden I didn't know I was carrying. Equally important was forgiving myself. I'd been harsh, replaying my mistakes, calling myself a failure. But Buddhism teaches self-compassion. We are all imperfect, all learning. I wrote another letter, this time to myself. "You did the best you could with what you knew. I forgive you." Tears fell as I wrote, but they were tears of healing. Journaling became a powerful tool in this process. Each evening, I'd sit in my meditation corner, light a candle, and write about my feelings. I'd reflect on the lessons the argument with Ethan taught me: patience, communication, humility, and let go of the pain. This practice of writing and releasing helped me close that chapter, making space for new beginnings. Healing from the past isn't about erasing it. It's about freeing yourself from its grip. The next time a painful memory surfaces, sit with it. Feel the emotion fully. Then visualize setting it down by your own quiet river. Forgive, reflect, and release. You'll find the present waiting for you, bright and full of possibility. If you've ever used mindfulness to find calm in chaos, type 1 in the comments. If you're just starting your mindfulness journey, type 2. You're in the right place. Don't let this moment of clarity slip away. Subscribe now to begin your journey into mindful awareness with Daily Buddhist. The journey to serenity is a sacred path, one that weaves together the threads of understanding your mind, protecting your energy, rewiring your thought patterns, embracing acceptance, finding stillness amidst life storms, crafting a peaceful environment, and healing from the wounds of the past. Each of these steps, rooted in the timeless wisdom of Buddhism, invites you to turn inward, to discover the tranquility that has always resided within you. Peace isn't a destination to reach after the chaos subsides. It's a state of being you cultivate, moment by moment, breath by breath. Reflect for a moment on the storms you've faced, those turbulent times when the world felt overwhelming. Perhaps it was a challenging period at work, a strained relationship, or a personal loss that left you feeling unmoored. Now imagine facing those same challenges with a newfound stillness in your heart, a quiet strength that no external force can shake. That's the power of these practices. They don't promise to erase life's difficulties, but they equip you with the tools to navigate them with grace, clarity, and unshakable calm. Let's revisit the steps you can take to nurture this inner peace. Begin by sitting with your mind, observing its restless dance without judgment. Protect your energy by setting boundaries. Say no to what drains you, and yes to what nourishes your soul. Rewire your brain by noting stressful thoughts, breaking free from cycles of negativity. Accept what you cannot change, whether it's a situation or an emotion, and feel the freedom that comes with letting go. When chaos surrounds you, anchor yourself with meditation and mindful breathing, finding stillness in the storm. Design a sanctuary in your home, a space that reflects the peace you seek. And finally, heal from the past by forgiving others and yourself, allowing the weight of old wounds to lift. These practices are more than techniques. They're a way of life, a commitment to living with intention and awareness. I think back to a time when I was overwhelmed by the demands of my life, juggling a demanding job, family responsibilities, and my own inner doubts. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of stress, unable to find solid ground. But as I began to incorporate these Buddhist teachings, something shifted. I started meditating each morning, even for just 5 minutes, focusing on my breath as the sun rose over the hills near my home. I decluttered my space, letting go of items that no longer served me, and created a small meditation nook with a single candle and a smooth river stone. I forgave myself for past mistakes, writing letters to my younger self in a journal, and I learned to accept the things I couldn't change. Slowly, the chaos that once consumed me became a distant hum, and I found a deep, abiding peace within. This journey isn't always easy. It requires patience, compassion, and a willingness to sit with discomfort. But the rewards are profound. You'll find that the peace you seek isn't something to chase. It's something to uncover, layer by layer, as you peel back the distractions and attachments that cloud your true nature. The wisdom you seek has always been within you, waiting for you to pause, breathe, and listen. Have you experienced moments of unexpected calm or insight? Share your story in the comments. Your journey could inspire someone else. And if you're ready to deepen your practice, join our daily Buddhist community by subscribing today. Your path to serenity starts now. As you move forward, remember that peace is a practice, not a perfection. There will be days when your mind feels restless, when the storms of life feel overwhelming, when the past tries to pull you back. In those moments, return to these teachings. Sit with your breath, observe your thoughts, and remind yourself of the impermanence of all things. The challenges you face are temporary, but the peace you cultivate within is eternal. At Daily Buddhist, we're here to support you every step of the way. Whether you're just beginning or have been on this path for years, these teachings offer a timeless guide to living with greater ease and joy. So take a deep breath, feel the ground beneath you, and know that you're exactly where you need to be. Peace is not found by seeking, but by pausing, breathing, and embracing the present. Click subscribe now. Your journey toward lasting peace begins here.